Okay, mic levels are good. All right, we are live, I think. What's up, people? Are we live? I think so. Let me send this to the rest of everything. Let me share the link. All right. Cool. What are we doing? Let's find the Leica group. Leica Monochrom group, I should say. How's everybody tonight? Hopefully well. I had an awesome shoot with my wife. We have some more photos to edit than we did yesterday. And then we have 2 videos to make. I started making the one from yesterday for like the vlog type, the behind the scenes with the camera, but I didn't finish. So I need to finish that one. I need to finish this one. So I'm behind. I need to get it going. But anyway, let's go. Let's post this online. All right, capture. Okay. Cool. Right. Okay. I'll make sure we got our stats up and our chat up just in case. And let me post this to my personal Facebook. In my live. Right, shoot. Bang. Oops. Edit the post. There we are. Cool. Okay, let's get going here. Hopefully we'll have some more people join in tonight. But anyway, let's hide everything. Where's capture one? There we are. All right. Let's go here. That should be fine. Okay, cool. All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining tonight. We're going to be doing another live photo editing session using Capture One Pro 21 and the photos from excuse me, today's photo shoot. Like yesterday's stream, I'm not going to go through I didn't go through, I should say, these photos. I only briefly looked at some that my wife was curious about, but I didn't review everything. So as you can see by the first frame, there's a bunch of, I'm sure, how and what not to do's in this one. So let's get it going here. Want to make the most. We have a lot of photos. So last night's live stream, I edited, I believe, 36 photos, and 8 of them were kept. Today we have 58, and I mean, we're gonna have 57 in a second here, but anyway, that's kind of where we're at. So let's take a quick look. I'm gonna cull through these first, and then we're gonna find the ones that we're gonna keep and edit. So this one's definitely a no-go, but I think I might keep it for the video. So I'm not sure. I realized that I'm going to create a YouTube video out of this, kind of behind the scenes, and these are the photos that will go into that edit. Now the challenge is we need to have, you know, photos, even the bad ones, to show. So I might need to keep some of these, even ones that are super bright or super dark like this one. So This one I might keep. This is probably obviously the better exposure. I like this. This is cool. We had a bunch of people shooting weddings, engagements, and a lot of different people at the beach just taking photos of their families and stuff. So there's a lot more action in these sets of photos than there were last night. So last night was pretty empty where I went, but tonight, it was packed, man. So let's take a quick look. I like the tones in this image. Yeah, we have some blown highlights here, but I do like the tones. It's really overall super moody, and I generally like it. I shot this pretty backlit, so I'm shooting at sunset here on the west coast in San Diego, and you'll see that as the sun was setting over the ocean, we're gonna get a lot of backlit shots. So let's see. Oh, this one's nice. I like this one. It was really windy too, so you'll see a lot of the wind. The waves were pretty fierce. So I don't really like this one. I don't think I'm gonna edit it. I'm not gonna delete some of these honestly, like I did yesterday. I'm just gonna keep some for the actual live for the vlog. But this is okay. It's cool. People talking with their surfboards. This gentleman with his dog. I was trying to get a better shot of the dog. This was really the shot. If the dog would have turned and looked back up, it would have been awesome. Okay, I'm keeping it. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, some of these look great. Obviously, the horizon's off, so I see a lot of horizon correcting here. These are nice shots of my wife. These are one of her Christmas presents. Is this bag, and she wanted to have some photos taken with it to see what it looked like, and I thought, why not a black and white shoot? So a lot of these photos will actually be of her, which I'm excited about. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep these because she's gonna want to pick through them. There was a lot of bird action. There's so many seagulls, so many pelicans, a lot of people shooting. I was aiming to shoot more towards this gentleman here and just getting kind of a mix of the scenes. This guy's pretty bundled up. This guy's like in his shorts and a t-shirt. We were frozen, so I have no idea how he's doing that. Yeah, you could see the wind. I was trying to zone focus this, and I shot from the hip. He was looking kind of up here, and obviously it's behind them. Damn, I would have liked this one. Same thing here. Okay, we're gonna kill this one. Had a group of pelicans fly over us and took this shots of this. Let's see. And then here we got some back shots. So I'm not going to show these in the vlog because I want everything to be horizontal. So I turned off the camera and didn't record this part, but these are some other photos that won't make it. And these are just these portrait shots. I was really annoyed because you kept having these people just walking through. I was surprised at how busy it honestly was. We are a few hours away from an extension of our lockdown order here in California. So it was actually interesting to see so many different people at the beach, whether it was surfing or just hanging out with their friends. But that's that. So I had a lot of people. I had to contend with a lot. And what I was trying to do here was get the surf shack from Windansea. It's the popular thing besides the actual surf and the short break here. So I wanted the surf shack to make it into these photos, and I obviously wanted the bag and my wife to be relatively in focus. And it looks like we're kind of focused on this eye here. I'm focused on the wrong eye, but it's not terrible because it's almost like you can't see that. It'll be the illusion of sharpness because where the sun is hitting her, which is on the right side of her face, she's pretty dead on tack sharp here. So it should be fine, actually, interestingly enough. I'm going to kill this one. This one's nice. Same thing here. Again, just focus basically on the back of her, on this back eye here. And that's interesting to me because I'm shooting with a red filter, by the way. So I shot pretty extreme here, pretty high contrast. I like that look, actually. I've been digging it lately. So I've been just putting the red filter on, and the red filter throws off your focus. It just throws off the rangefinder. I don't know what it is. It just throws it off. So I was definitely focusing on her eye, her front eye here. And you could obviously see that it's back focused. So I'm not sure if that's to do with, the the filter, but it's definitely off. So I have to figure that out. This is just shots walking around. We had a cool couple shoot with their dog, and I was trying. You could see the lens here actually of their photographer, and I was trying to sneak in some shots while still hiding her and keeping some degree of environment here. These are shot at about f4, f5.6 in that range here. That's why you can see there's a lot more depth of field to work with, and I kind of wanted to fade in, so I'm gonna definitely crop this one in here, and just by the post, because this is pretty distracting in the foreground here, but we'll crop it into the shot, and it'll really enhance the framing of this. This is another scene that we had. We were just walking because it was so cold and so windy down below that we walked away and we walked up. So I'm probably going to delete this shot. I'm not going to edit any of these. There's a bunch of people just hanging out in their cars, which was really interesting. So people just kind of lined up. People were just drinking and partying. I'm assuming they're drinking with their golf carts from the neighborhood here. And then you just had a line of cars just hanging out, looking at the sunset, you know, just out of the way of traffic, which was really cool. So this is dark, but we'll brighten it up and you'll get to see the shot. It's kind of cool. It's also a little interesting because you're looking the wrong way. You know, you want to be looking that way. So it's actually an interesting, with the signs in the shot, it's actually a little more interesting. Let's see. I try to hip shoot this again. Nah, that didn't work out. This isn't. I try to get this chair in focus here. Oh, this is okay. Was this hip shot? This was hip shot and kind of in focus. This was hip shot again. We're walking down the steps, and this is just the last bit right after the sunset. Yeah, see, I was focused on her front eye, and it's just back focusing. That's so interesting. That's really interesting. Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out, because with the red filter again, I know I was focusing, because you could obviously see that it's a lot easier to focus this way. You know, this was shot pretty wide open here. I stopped, I didn't stop down my lens. I opened it up because the sun was setting quickly. And what I wanted to make sure I was doing was, you know, getting as much of that soft light as possible on my wife really quickly. So I was just firing off shots, as you can clearly see here, just playing with the different orientations. And what I also saw her doing was going towards the beach. So in these next shots, obviously the horizon's off and you could see most of my sensor dust. I really need to clean the sensor. Yeah, there to go. You can see that on, that's so nasty. Yeah, you could definitely see that on the YouTube video. I need to clean the sensor. But anyway, so she was walking towards the beach and I just saw the silhouette. It looked really, really cool. And I just love the tones. The tones look really cool. So I just shot a silhouette of her. People just running just everywhere. So it was very difficult actually to try to get a shot without too many distractions in the background. Again, this looks a little off, but she was also moving towards me. This is kind of cool. I like the tones. Tones are really nice. This is much brighter. Yeah. Yeah, see, it's back focusing. It's focusing on her hair. That's so interesting. Okay, so with the red filter, it seems to be back focusing. I know I was focusing on the eye. So it's off. It's just off. So if you shoot with the red filter, let's get that in a better light, I guess. Can you see that a little bit? Yeah, there you go. Maybe. Anyway, there's a red filter on the front of this lens. And yeah, man, whatever it is about this red filter, it's, I might take it off on the next shoot and see what happens, because it's definitely back focusing. So I wasn't expecting that. There you go. I could see it a little bit better. This is a B+W red filter. I went with the Germans just to kind of keep the quality really high. I found an awesome deal on this actually for the Summicron lens on Amazon. They had both the red and the orange, but I'm curious to see what the orange will do. I'm curious to see if the orange back focuses as dramatically as the red filter does, because it's definitely off. And yeah, I'm not really happy about this because I really wanted to use some of these shots. Let's see. Oh, we had this pup. Oh, he was so cute. His owner, he was totally on leash, which, you know, I guess could be a no-no at the beach when you have a bunch of people around. But we just saw who we thought maybe would have been his owner, and all of a sudden you see this pup, and I'm just trying to shoot him really quickly and trying to get him in focus, and you're just walking towards me pretty fast, and he just kept following his owner. It was awesome. I want a dog, and if I get a dog, I want a dog just like that. All right. Yeah, it's back focused, man. This is so annoying. Well, let's see. You may not notice on this shot. I just want to cheat really quickly and see it. Yeah, you may not notice it that much, and I think we could save some of these. Like if I just go a little bit underexposed, I think we'd actually can save some of these photos. This is in, or again, back focused. All right, so note to self, next time I'm shooting portraits, just take that red filter off. Unless you really stop the lens down. Yeah, look at the hair back here, sharp. So whoever's watching this, if you watch this now or in the future, if you have a Leica Monochrom or a Q2 Monochrome 246, M10, doesn't matter. Watch the red filter because it's going to throw it off, man. And this is wide open, so, or as close to wide open as I remember it being. Huh. I'm so curious. I'm so curious as to why it does that. All right, so I'm going to keep it off next time, but I shot some, this is obviously wrong. I shot some bag shots too, just some close-ups. Oh, this is out. What did I shoot this at? 1/45 a second. I should have nailed that focus. There we go. That's better. So just some close-up of her bag, which she's going to want for her Instagram. And then I saw some guys walking into the shot. I was done. And then I saw some guys kind of walking from their surf sesh. So they were hanging out with some of the photographers, local photographers taking photos. So just looking at some of the surf shots. So all in all, some interesting mix of photos here. So I'm curious to see what will come out of this. So I'm really into editing some of these. Let's see. Let's see who we got or what we have here. All right. Let's start. So this is obviously blown. So this is why you don't overexpose the Leica Monochrom right here. Completely unrecoverable. I'm going to keep that as a dud. I think I should start showing off my bad shots and not necessarily my good shots. So this isn't that great. Just because they're not really doing anything, you can't really tell that there's people actually setting up for a shoot. So I much prefer this. And I'm just going to increase the exposure slightly. I still want to preserve a lot of the darkness in the shot, and obviously there's a huge blown out area here, but I want to preserve it. I want to keep the contrast. I want to, you know, bring back some of the contrast back in the curve. But yeah, I dig this. This looks nice. I'm honestly not going to do too much to this photo. It's nice because we have the waves, and you kind of can't tell how any of the spots on my sensor, so this is okay. I dig this. I can roll with this. I'm not even going to touch the curves, to be honest with you. I don't think it needs it. I think there's enough, I mean, maybe in the midtones here if we want to really bring some of these tones out a little bit more. I don't know. I think that looks okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't want to do too much to this. I don't think it needs it. We're not going to go gradients like we did last night. So here's the shot of my wife. Pretty nice close up here. So first thing I see is I see these spots, and we're going to remove them immediately. So I went to the spot removal tools, and I have the sensor dust setting on. So I'm going to increase the radius to see if we can maybe sample a bigger size. Let's see. Yeah, that got it. Okay, cool. So I want to bring back some detail in her skin here. It's a little over, so I'm actually going to come down with the overall exposure, and I'm gonna come back to the curves, and we'll touch that in a second. So I'm gonna definitely add some more black to this image, bring back the white point up a little bit. I want to be careful with the clarity, so I'm not going to go above 10. And same thing with the structure and the sharpening, just because again, you want to be careful with you know, ladies' faces. You don't want to make them too sharp. So I'm gonna paint in an S curve here, but I'm gonna bring up some of these midtones on the skin. You can see the skin details still nice and preserved, and I'm gonna keep the shadows. Or actually, let's bring this overall up a little bit. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit. I'm just increasing some of this, some of these midtone, these like darker midtones here. I actually really like this. This came out nice. I want to preserve the skin. That's my goal here. I want to make the skin look realistic. So let's see where we at levels wise. Levels are okay. We kind of come in. Yeah, I don't want to darken too much. No, it's okay. We're not going to touch the levels. So yeah, I think this is okay. I like that. I like the edit on the skin. Horizontal lines, vertical lines seem okay. So we should be good here. This shot, I'm not going to edit. I don't think there's anything special about it. But if I were to, I obviously would straighten the horizon. So we're going to skip this one. And let's edit some, like the one of these guys talking. Let's do this. Let's go back. And I want to bring... I think the exposure is actually okay in this. The exposure is okay. I want to bring down the black point and increase the white point, increase the clarity and the structure. And I want to definitely play with our curves here. So we're going to do a little bit of an exaggerated S curve. And you can see where I'm going. I'm going right into where there's a lot of information in these like midtones, these dark grays, and I'm just bringing those up. So I'm bringing more details. I'm inherently pulling up more details from the shadows, these darker shadows here. But I'm working in the dark area. You know, I don't really need to touch these highlights here. I mean, we kind of bring them down if we really want to, but I don't. You see how I just did that? I don't want to mess with other highlights too in the image. So we don't want to gray those out. I want to keep them white, especially since these are blown out, as you can clearly see. So, yeah, it just subtle adjustments. See, we go from a relatively flat gray image to bang, instantly pops. So I also want to keep some of this, there's some water and wax on the surfboard. You know, I want to keep that there. You know what I mean? I don't want to lose any of that. So just to stay safe, we're gonna stop here. Old man with the dog. I don't know if I want to keep or edit any of these, to be honest with you. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think so. Let's edit one of them. Let's edit not this one. Let's edit this one. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to straighten these posts. So I'm gonna just straighten the shot out a little bit. I think it needs it. And from there, I'm going to probably crop in because this is distracting. I forgot if this was a cactus or a pole or something, but I'm going to bring this in. All right, let's see. That looks good. Exposure looks okay, honestly. I don't think I could go a little bit lighter, but definitely kill the black point. I'm gonna increase the black point, increase the white point, add some contrast, sharpness and clarity. Or structure and clarity. Yeah, this looks okay. Maybe a little tad too much. I don't want to get those white lines, those white halos around things that over sharpen look. I don't want that. And then again, we're gonna make one of these more exaggerated S curves. I want to preserve a lot of the detail in the ocean too, so I want to be careful. I want to be careful. I want the foam to be white. There's foam on the waves. I want that to stay white, and I want the shadows of the peaks of the waves to stay relatively dark and have some definition. So that's what I'm looking for right here. That looks okay. We'll keep this one. And then back to my wife. Oh, these are great. I love these photos. These photos are so good. All right, so this one's nice. Let's straighten this out. And I'm gonna straighten, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it. Oh, okay, yeah, good. I was afraid that the bag might get cut off at the bottom here, and I was afraid of it. I like keeping the horizon of the beach here, so I'm gonna actually, instead of cropping in tighter, I'm gonna just remove the spot off the sensor spot, and we're gonna work with the shadow. I'm gonna bring up some of the shadow here, and then I'm gonna go in and add my contrast. But I wanna bring out more information out of the shadows here. And now we're going to layer in some more contrast. So we're preserve. I wanted to bring, you'll see the before and after of this. So what I was doing was, she was a little dark. She wasn't, I didn't position her perfectly. I like the look of her face. Her expression was really nice. So she was just looking down and just smiling and just happy to be at the beach. So, and getting hit with the wind. I don't think the wind was helping. I think she was smiling because she was like, man, this is a lot colder than I expected. But what I want to do, so it's because she's not, you know, because the light isn't hitting her that well, I am bringing up some of these shadows, and then I'm painting back in some contrast. I'm adding or decreasing the black point really, and increasing the white point a little bit. And now I'm just going to hit the curves. So we'll hit the structure and the clarity last on this one, because again, it is slightly out of focus, I believe. Yeah, see, it's just back focusing with this red filter. So it'll help. It'll help. Let me just show you. I'm going to increase the shadow information. And then I'm going to just make sure we kill some of these blacks again. The purse isn't black, so I don't want it to appear black. It's like a purple. So I want it to not have this. It's very important to not have the black look on the purse, because it doesn't make sense, especially if you pair it with other photos that I took in the series. You know, it won't look good to have this black purse when it's not. So I'm not going to make it black. I'm going to keep some of the shadows here black, because those were dark, but not the purse. And then clarity, I'm going to be very careful here. Again, I don't want to over sharpen or add too much clarity to my wife's face. So I just want to be careful. And this looks okay. It actually helped with defining and faking a little sharpness, even though the photo itself isn't fully sharp on her face. It is back focused. So it just helps slightly, because it exaggerates the contrast, the finer points of contrast here in her face. So it looks sharper than it is, but I dig it. So you'll see the before and after is way different. So there's the before, there's the after. Way different result. So I like it. Way less flat. So, yeah, this light's terrible on her face because there is none. So, although I don't mind, this is a nicer photo. Let's copy some of these adjustments really quickly, and then we'll tweak them as we need. So let's maybe, let's edit this one. I like this one more. I like the expression on our face more. So I'm gonna just start out with the adjustments I already had, and I'm gonna tweak them for this photo. It just gives us an easier starting spot. So I'm just gonna straighten the horizon. I wonder if I want to go in a little bit yeah, see how this is so annoying to me. I'm so aggravated that this back focused. You can see where her hair is sharp and in focus is literally behind her head. So, and this was dead on. I know it was dead on. I took a few shots in the series just to make sure I nailed one, and they're all back focused. So it leads me to assume that I was on for them. It's just this red filter really throws it off. So there was another photographer. I don't remember his name. He had a video about his Monochrom 246 and why he sold it. It's a pretty popular one on YouTube if you just search for it. He's a European guy. I believe he shoots in Germany. Not Lynn, not Samuel, but I forgot his name. I should look it up. But anyway, he reported on this that hey, be careful with portraits and a red filter, because if you're shooting, especially wide open, the rangefinder gets off. It is just off because of the wavelengths, the different wavelengths of light that it's blocking. So it's out of focus, but it doesn't look it not from far away. So that's why I don't want to crop in too heavily. I don't want to exaggerate that end of it. So we can still save parts of this. I do still like this shot. So I mean, if we look at the exposure, we could probably increase it slightly. And actually, you know what I'm going to do, because I love the way the light's coming from the side. I'm actually going to do a radial filter. I'm going to add an adjustment layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint in a local, I should say really global. I'm going to invert this. So the way you invert a layer that you add. So I'm drawing, I pulled in, I dragged, I selected the gradient tool, which is, I'll give you the shortcut in a moment. You can just, the shortcut for this is T. So I just drew a massive radial. I want this to actually hit my wife and not feather off. And you could see by the mask. So if you click on this, you'll see the mask. What's in red is actually the effect. So we'll want to invert this. So we can draw the mask. We can right click and click draw mask inside. And oops, no. How do we invert mask? Sorry. We want to, is that what we want to do? Yes. What we want to do is click on the actual layer itself. So we're drawing a mask. We want to invert that mask. So what you'll want to do is drag your radial gradient out, and then you'll want to right click on the adjustment layer. So where it says adjustment layer 1 for me above the background, just right click it. You'll see a menu come up. There's clear mask, invert mask, fill mask, rasterize, feather, refine, all that. So I just right clicked and I inverted. So what that'll let us do is paint in just there. So I want to fake more light in this shot, and I'm gonna make this a lot brighter. So I'm gonna actually paint that as if there's more light bathing my wife than there actually is in real life. So it's adding more that's exaggerated kind of sun effect. So I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna increase the exposure here. Not too crazy, but definitely want to increase it because I like the way the sun's kind of hitting the side of her here. I think it looks really nice. So as a, I don't want to call it local adjustment because it is pretty global. That's what I'm doing in the shot here. So I like that look. I do like that look. It's not everybody's favorite because I know people like to buy lenses with coatings just to decrease sun flare. I love sun flare. So whenever I get it, especially in this lens, since it's older, it doesn't have the newer coatings. This Summicron V3. I think it was made between the late 60s and early 70s. So it definitely doesn't have the newest coatings, but optically it's identical to the ones today. So I love it when it flares. It flares so nicely. So I actually like that effect. I like the rest of this too. The only thing I would do is, okay, we have our clarity. Yeah, maybe we can increase the clarity a little bit to make sure that our face looks sharper. I think the purse looks nice too. Maybe we can increase some of the. No, we're gonna leave that. I want to keep the purse from looking black because it's not. It's dark purple, so I want to keep it looking not black. And I think it's a good place to stop. Again, we could keep editing, but we need to know when to stop. So I think this is a good place to stop on this image. I really like it. I don't like this photo. I'm gonna keep it for the video, for the vlog. This one's okay. So we have a different lighting situation here. So see, my wife's definitely turns now towards the sun, and this looks sharper. Yep. Okay. So this is, and I think I stopped down the lens at this point to like f5.6 or f4. So I wanted to make sure that most of her outfit, including the purse, was nice and sharp, which it obviously is. So cool. I'm very happy about that. I like showing that I like the environment in the shot. So let's talk about things I like about the shot, and I'll talk about things I don't like about the shot. When I see a photo like this, I don't like the composition. I don't like that she's dead in the middle. So what I was trying to do is just make sure that she was, one, I was vlogging, so I had the GoPro on top of my camera while shooting this, and I had her positioned in the middle because I was focusing, to make sure that the rangefinder was on, and then I progressively moved her around, so you can see that I moved and I recomposed. But in this first shot, this was the first shot, which I'm not going to use. This is the second shot, which is more level with the horizon. I started paying attention a little bit more, to the horizon and to where the frame lines were, so I could get the person as well. Now, so I don't like the composition. I do like the railing. I like the fact that it paints a little bit more of the environment, you know. So there's something, she's kind of in the middle of this, but probably more towards the foreground than the midground here, in the shot. So there is more depth. It is weighted towards the front for sure in this image, and the depth of field also kind of brings her out, but it's not, you know, super shallow, on purpose, because I wanted to make sure that most of the outfit was sharp. So I don't like the fact that I'm shooting against rocks and I'm shooting against a very dark background, and she's not edged out. Like there's no there's not much contrast between her and the background, and as a result, I mean, there is on this side where the sun's hitting her, but where the sun is not, you know, it just melts into the background, and that's not a good thing because there's no separation. So that's what I don't like. If I would have been able to do this again, I probably would have just stepped over where I was. There was a railing I was leaning over. I would have stepped under it or over it and just gotten into a position where I could maybe shoot with more of the sky or even more of the beach, the ocean, so it would frame her a little bit differently. I don't know if I could have avoided these bushes necessarily. They're everywhere, but see, I'm kind of shooting down versus shooting straight, and up maybe would have helped. So if I were to redo the shot again, obviously I want to shoot down on the purse, I want to shoot the bag, and I want to shoot the look and the scene. But if I were to redo this, I'd probably make sure that she's a little bit more separated. So I'm not, yeah, I that's probably what I would have done. Let's see. So I don't know. I do like the rest of the shot's nice. So let's see what will happen if we pop in some of these edits. So it's not terrible. It's definitely not terrible. It's just bright. Her face is very bright now, and I don't think the shot needs to be as bright. So I think that's okay. See, by bringing more brightness to these reeds here, these I don't even know what it is, some plant, it's like beach grass, whatever it is. But bringing some light to that kind of edges her out, at least right here, where if we look at the before, she really melted in, but now there's a little bit more separation. So yeah, there's that. Let's keep going. So I like this. This is okay. This is a little cut off, so the bag's a little cut off. I don't like that. And this one's nice too. Let's just add these adjustments. I don't like the way the sun is hitting her. It's not very flattering. The bag looks good. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep this. So this shot's not really telling. I'm gonna keep it for the vlog. I'm gonna add some adjustments and I'm gonna straighten this. But what I don't like in this shot is there's really no story. You know, I was just kind of setting up and trying to shoot. There's no story here. You know, there's a lot of things going on, but there isn't really isn't much of storytelling here. I guess maybe this guy with his L series lens, but there isn't a story, so I'm not a fan of that. See, now I'm kind of shooting up on my wife in this shot here, and I'll use these edits to kind of cheat. But I'm gonna bring down the exposure slightly. Yeah, see, this is a little bit better. What I don't like are all these cars. You know, it's really difficult to you know, to get a nice fashion scene with a bunch of these cars in the background here. Maybe this next shot will be a little bit better, because see, there's this car with their headlights kind of coming towards my wife. Let's see, what's this like? Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's also not straight, so I would definitely want to straighten this out. That looks better. I like the way the light's hitting her legs. You know, it's definitely edging her out really nicely compared to the background here. You know, we have a dark, sharp black line here, and then we have the gray, the softer gray, and then we have the light edging out her legs, which I think looks really nice. Same thing with the way the light is hitting the bag, the purse itself, I think is really nice. The only thing I would do to this is maybe increase, you know, increase some of the gray here so we can make the bag look less, maybe a little less black. That's going to be a little bit difficult to do though, but it is popping out really nicely and I really like it. I think she's going to dig this photo too. I dig it. Another thing I don't like is I don't like this sign. I think it's distracting. So I'm going to definitely, what I would normally do is I would clone stamp it out, but in this case I'm just going to crop it out and it'll just leave a tighter image on my wife anyway. And I said yesterday I don't really follow the rule of thirds that much and that often, but in this case I'm kind of breaking my own rule. But I think that looks nice. I think this is a lot nicer of an image. I like that. Yeah, this shot I'm gonna keep for the video. It's not the best because it's out of focus pretty badly. Man, hip shooting is difficult. I should have looked at the scale and been like, all right, well, we're between this and this, and maybe that would have been a little bit easier. But I didn't do that, so there's that. You live and you learn. I guess that's why we go shooting. Nothing to see here either. I don't really like this. These guys were getting ready for their shoot, and this dog was so cute. So let's go to those shots. The pelicans are cool. Were they sharp? Not really. But they're okay. I'll keep this for the vlog as well. My hit rate tonight was pretty poor, guys. It happens. There we go. Just cleaning up the rest of those sensor spots. I think it looks okay. This looks nice. These are the ones that look really nice and sharp even with that back focus. So let's clean up these sensor spots here. And I can start by adding some initial edits here. I think we can brighten this up. I'm not afraid of contrast. I like having it. You know, I like, as I decrease contrast, I like having the contrast. I really do. I think it's really nice. It edges out. I think it's really easy to make a shot that's low contrast. High contrast is a little bit more difficult because you have to watch the way the light is hitting somebody's face, body, and what you're trying to shoot. So in general, it's much harder, you know, in my opinion, than just shooting super low contrast where everything's just flat light. So one of the nice things about, you know, shooting in black and white is you're looking at light. So you're ultimately going to make decisions based upon the way the light's hitting your subject. So you can see how there we go. You could see how I'm still preserving contrast here. And I flattened it out, but I'm still keeping some nice levels of contrast here, especially on the bag. I think it looks good. These shots are nice too. I like these. Let's see. Which ones do I want to edit? I don't like this one because this guy just moved. So again, this isn't in the I like this shot a lot. This isn't going to be in the video, the vlog, but this, because I just shot portrait, but I love this. This is full. I'm going to use this full frame. I could crop in a little bit more, but I'm going to give her the latitude of just Instagram. So I'm thinking she's going to post this on her story and she's going to post this period. So I just want to give her that extra space up here. So again, this is really, you know, when you make a cropping decisions, because could we, like if I'm going to print this, when I print this, I would crop this out. I would take you know, a lot of space off the top here because there's nothing interesting in the sky. You know, yeah, you see some of the vignette from the lens, you know, as it's a little bit more wide open, and that's nice. But you know, for the purposes of what my wife needs it for and is going to want it for, this is going to be for herself and to tag on Instagram and post and to tag the bag company. So for that purpose, I'm going to just give her the extra space up here. So I'm thinking about how it's going to be used too. That's always something to consider when you're making edits and cropping and adjusting and how you shoot. Sometimes you got to give yourself some space, especially if you're going to, you know, use a photo. Like if you guys shoot for catalogs and if you shoot for magazines or something, you're always going to want to just give yourself extra space, you know, in the corners you're going to want to frame properly, obviously, but you're going to want to leave empty black space, especially if you're if you're shooting for a magazine. You definitely want empty space for text to be overlaid cleanly, things like that. So just be aware of that. That's what, again, just leaving the space for her to just add and tag. So this looks good to me, man. I really like this. I don't know if I would play with the, maybe a little bit with the exposure, because I don't want it to be too dark either, especially if she posts it online. So I definitely want to make sure that this looks different because the screen's backlit. So the challenge, I mean, I'm on a Mac. So if you're on a PC or some other type of monitor, I don't think this is color calibrated. Not that we're shooting in color, but even brightness values, like I could increase or decrease the brightness of the screen illuminating my face, and it's backlit. So that's why when you print, sometimes if you print an image that you edited on your monitor, it looks different. It may look a lot darker, than what the print actually looks like, or the photo looks like on your computer, even after you edit it to print. Sometimes you'll want to bump up the exposure a little bit, even though it doesn't look good on your screen, it's going to translate better to the paper. So in this case, you're going to be looking at this on a screen too, but it might be different. And I've noticed that, when I edit some of these photos and I think that they're good, I go back and I think that, sorry, I got a comment. Sorry, this is Frank. Awesome. Hey man, thanks for joining. Welcome. So yeah, so what I was saying was like, yeah, so you'll think that something's good. At least I think an export is good, but when I look at it on my phone or I post to Instagram, it just is that much darker. So I figure I just bump the exposure a little bit more and lighten it. It's not that it's a high key image. It's not, right? So I don't have to worry about that because that's not the look I'm going for, but I want to keep this on the brighter end. So I'm not going to touch the brightness any further. So I copied and pasted a lot of the adjustments that I was doing earlier. So if you're just joining in, Frank, I'm not sure when you hopped in, but if you're just joining in, what I did was I copied these settings over, and I can go through and I'll show you on the next shot. I could just re-edit the next shot and walk through what I did. So most of these were exposed fairly decently to where I wanted them. So I wanted more contrast. I wanted, we had a lot of directional light, coming from the sunset, and it softens as we go here. So you'll see that it goes really hard, like some of this light's very hard, especially on the side of my wife's face and head. We go from very, very, very hard to, one directional to just softer and softer and softer light. And once we're here at the end, you see how soft this is, and it wraps around really nicely. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So anyway, this is the final edit. I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to walk you through what I did on some of these on the next few shots. So I like her face here, so I'm just going to copy these and just paste these settings. I'm going to let her choose, see which of these two photos she prefers. I prefer this one. I like the composition a little bit better, but I don't know. What do I know? Especially when I show my wife photos of herself. Apparently I know nothing. So I'll let her decide. All right, so let's go to the next shot. So this is of the surf shack. I wanted to get just a very basic shot of the surf shack because it's, again, it's pretty famous. It's why people come to Windansea, this beach in San Diego. So it's pretty, this is a pretty boring shot. I don't think there's anything special about the shot at all. It definitely looks like a snapshot. I realize that. I recognize that. The only thing that this shot maybe has going for is that I'm framing people in each. What I noticed when I was shooting this, and the one thing I didn't like about this shot were these people, because these couples are all framed by the post. So there's a frame between these two posts of this gentleman's framed right here, and then this couple would have been framed by this. I just had these guys here, and sure, you could say that they're kind of framed by this, but they're kind of not, because there's no roof on that pole. So realistically, I was kind of seeing some of that in this shot here. I don't like all this, this isn't trash. There's a bunch of people shooting engagement photos and graduation photos, family photos today. So it was a perfect day for it, honestly, even though it was super windy. So thanks Frank. So I don't know. I like the shot. I don't love the shot. So, we take the good ones and the bad ones. Again, I didn't pre-screen these photos. So if I'm going to show you this shot, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you the shot, right? So, anyway, so let's edit a little bit. So what I'm gonna do to this shot, what I think the exposure is a little low, to be honest with you. I'm looking at the histogram. I think the exposure is a little low, so I'm gonna just bump the exposure a little bit, not too much. I'm gonna counteract me bringing the exposure up by killing some of the black point in the image. So I'm not going to touch the contrast. I don't really play with these 3 sliders in Capture One at all. The first thing I do is I mess with the exposure. If the exposure is off, which it will be since I'm underexposing in almost every single photo to protect as much of the highlights as possible. So as you can see in this shot, you could tell by the histogram, but I just wanted to confirm there's nothing blown out, which is very easy to do on the monochrome sensors, especially, you know, the M9 monochrome, which all these images are from the M9 monochrome. It's very easy to blow out, and obviously you can't recover. So even though this looks white, it's not. Anyway, so I don't touch these. Highlight, depending on the shot, I'll bring down the highlight. In this case, I like the extra lightness in the sky, so I'm not going to touch the highlight, which is something I usually do in almost every single respect, especially the photos that I shot yesterday. So the photos I shot of, you know, across the bay in San Diego from Coronado shooting towards the city, I brought down the highlights in a lot of the images because I wanted the contrast in the clouds and I wanted the puffiness in the clouds to kind of come through. So I'm not going to touch that today. The shadow, I like bringing up the shadow depending on the shot. Again, here it's just going to make things milkier and muddier, especially since we're closer to the beach. You see there's a fine mist and a fine spray coming off the ocean from the wind and the waves. I'm not going to touch the shadows either. So really, I'm working with the black point. So I'm adding my contrast with the black point and with the white point. So I'm increasing the white point, decreasing the black point, and that's where I'm going to start. And I did this a little haphazardly, but I actually do like this effect. I want to try to so here's what I want to do. There's the challenge I'm having now is the lighting conditions, because this is on the back end of the actual surf shack itself. So I want to make sure that we get the detail in the surf shack, you know, without necessarily having to do too much of this. And there's also this, you know, the Christmas decoration that they've added, the wreath that they added onto the surf shack. So I don't want to make things milky. So what we might have to do is kind of paint back in some contrast and some darkness. So if we're going to increase this to get some more definition in the actual reeds and in the leaves and in the wreath, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to paint back in the contrast with local adjustments and local brushes. I had somebody comment on the video in yesterday's video from the Leica Monochrom user group in Facebook. She asked, I believe her name was Virginia. She asked me, you know, like, since I'm not shooting RGB, like, what's the point of using like a program like this versus, and I believe that was her question. She asked, like, isn't basically a raw conversion process enough? And I said, no. I mean, it can be. Again, I shoot to edit with this sensor. I shoot underexposed on purpose, and I shoot to edit, and I shoot raw. I don't shoot raw plus JPEG, even though I'm sure these JPEGs look great. I just shoot raw, and I'll come in and I shoot underexposed, knowing that I'm going to go through and edit the photos. So I have a bunch of sensor dust on this sensor. The camera's used, and the previous owner sold it to me and said, hey, listen, like, the camera's great. Everything's working as perfectly as possible. Sensors change, but the sensor's pretty dusty. So I got a nicer discount on the camera as a result. So I'm working with that. I haven't gotten it cleaned. It came about a few weeks, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So I just didn't get a chance before the holidays to get it clean. So, which is a benefit to you, because you get to see me do other things, like, you know, using the different tools, the different editing tools, and, you know, putting in some more work on these edits. I'm honestly making more work for myself, to the benefit of whoever's watching, you know, learning more about the tools in Capture One. So, so do I use a color filter when shooting at the beach? So Frank, that's a great question. This is not the M10 monochrome. So two things. So this is not the M10. This is the M9 monochrome. So this is Henri. This is monochrome baby number 1. So there we are. Just to point it at the camera a little bit nicer. So this is the M9 monochrome, and I like the M10 monochrome. So I have a story about this camera. I have an interesting story about this camera, and I just want to hit your second question. Your second question about, do you use filters? I do, and I use the red filter. So I have a red filter and I have an orange filter for this camera, and for shooting at the beach and just shooting landscapes in general, I really like the high contrast look of the red filter. So I shot with the red filter today. It's still on the camera. Here, I'll show you. Maybe see that. There you go. Maybe we'll get a little glint. Anyway, yeah. So I shot with the red filter. Problem with the red filter, which I was discussing, is that it gets my rangefinder out of focus. So it'll show that it's in focus, and I'll show you on these shots here. So there are a few shots of my wife that are completely out of focus, and they're back focused actually. I heard this, I'm going to find the video, but I heard this gentleman talking about this problem. I believe it was a YouTuber, one of the European YouTubers that shoots Leica. He made a video about why he sold his M246, and I watched almost every single M246 video on YouTube before buying the M9 monochrome actually. And he said that using a red filter actually like made the rangefinder go out of whack. And that's not to say that the rangefinder wasn't showing accurately on the camera, but when you looked at the image, you know, after the fact, after you shot and you came home and you looked at your photos, it was either back focusing or front focusing. In my case, it's back focusing. So apparently the way, and this is documented online, I could post some articles about this because I did read into this because I really wanted to use red filters, especially doing landscape stuff. Like if I was going to go to Yosemite and you know, quote unquote, shoot things that Ansel was shooting, you know, which is what I would love to do with the monochrome. I can't wait to do that in the spring, hopefully. I was going to take the red filter and nothing else. 50mm lens, red filter, stop down to like f8, and all day just have a blast. You know, just your infinity focus, you're just looking at in awe at the wilderness and hopefully praying for some clouds and some precipitation. So I was upset to learn that it's very difficult to shoot, especially portraits with the red filter, because it will throw the rangefinder out of whack, especially if you shoot wide open. And I found that again to be the case. Like you'll see on some of these shots, it's just back focus. It's focusing on her hair. Let me find the better example here. It's focusing on her hair. These ones are more stopped down. Let me find. I was looking at some examples here. Yeah, these are good examples. So these shots, when you came in, Frank, I was editing these shots. So you could actually see that I focused in on her eye, and these shots are all identical. I nailed the eye on the rangefinder, but you could see which eye is actually in focus. I don't know why that is. Apparently it has to do with the wavelengths. So because the red filter blocks certain wavelengths of light, it doesn't record as sharply. I don't know. It's just the way I have to find this article, and I have to find a YouTube channel explaining it way better than me. But apparently the red filter has something to do with it, so it will throw it out. It does cut light. So the red filter, if you use a red filter, it cuts out about 3 stops of light. So I've noticed that it's pretty heavy-handed. So depending on, and look, it depends on the density too. I'm using a B plus W filter by Schneider Optics. So this is the F Pro filter. So this is the 39 millimeter for the Summicron. This is the F3, the version 3 Summicron lens, and here's the filter. So these B plus W filters are awesome, super high quality, metal rings, just they feel like tanks. And I wanted to invest in high quality filters, and a red filter, I believe is 3 stops. 3 stops. You know what? I could probably search that and see exactly how much it was. Again, I could post links to that, or I could just answer that on probably a next video when I do some more research on that. But it does cut a lot of light, absolutely. Less so than the orange, but it does cut out a lot of light for sure, absolutely. You'll get a red filter and message you on Facebook what I found out about on the M10M. Yeah, so if you have the M10 monochrome, I mean, I'm sure that camera's amazing. I was looking into it. I mean, I couldn't really, I haven't shot professionally for a long time, so I couldn't justify the price tag, to be honest with you. So the price was the number one deciding factor for me, in at least in my case. I also have not owned Leica previously to this, so I didn't want to jump into that level of commitment financially, in a camera system, especially if it was going to be for pleasure. My wife, I think, would have actually killed me. So I didn't go the M10 route for a few reasons, including those. And I was asking a bunch of photographers like Thorsten. I'm sure you follow Thorsten Overgaard on YouTube, and I messaged him on Instagram, and I was like, hey, like, I know you shot with the M9 monochrome. I know you had the 246, and I read his articles on those. And then I saw he got the M10, and I asked him which one's your favorite, and he said, honestly, the files in the M10 resemble those of the M9 so much. Because people hated the M246 apparently, that loved the M9 monochrome. So I initially looked at the 246, then I was like, ooh, but that M10, that silent shutter. I play with the M10P, so I was like, oh, dude, that silent shutter, the touch screen, the ability to, get the photos onto your phone, that's awesome. The newer batteries, the newer tech, all that's amazing, right? And then I was like, okay, let me ask an expert. I wasn't going to go for that. So should I go 246 or M9? And then he's like, hey, honestly, I didn't like the 246 files. I heard a lot of people say the same thing. And I found a really awesome deal on the M9. And apparently that was kind of like that magical grail CCD camera that everybody loved, like unanimously, like people that have bought the camera, sold the camera, repurchased the camera. So I was like, okay, you know what? I found a deal on it. I couldn't pass up on it, and I went M9, and I'm super happy I did, because I used to shoot Nikon. So I used to shoot a D810. So I shot the D700 and the D810, and then I was shooting the D810 exclusively, and that had 36 megapixels. And the M10 is 40, but the resolution equivalent apparently is closer to 120 megapixels in terms of like resolving power. And man, I just didn't want to handle those file sizes anymore. That was my number one complaint about the D810. It was super capable. Like, the camera was amazing. Like, when I moved to San Diego, I was taking a lot of landscape photos with the camera, and it was incredible. The dynamic range was incredible, which I know it is on the M10. I mean, you could literally shoot at ISO 100,000. It's stupid. It just had a lot of capability that I didn't need. And I purposely sold the D810 because I wanted less in terms of file size. I wanted less camera. So I got a Fuji. I got the X Pro 2. So I got this bad boy. And then I went into the Leica store and I held it 246, and I couldn't, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And a year and a half later, I ended up with this thing. And I'm super happy I did. So I actually didn't mind going back to 18 megapixels on a full frame camera, because with the resolving power of the monochrome sensor, and plus I don't really print, and when I do, I think the 18 megapixels plus whatever that is the equivalent of in terms of resolving power from the monochrome sensor, that's going to be enough for me. So I for all those reasons, I went M9, and I wanted something special. I see a lot of 246s on the used market now, not a lot of M10 monochromes. Like, people love that camera, for good reason, especially if you could make use of that resolution and the tech in that camera. I most likely will want to get one further down the line, especially if this bad boy, doesn't make it over the next few years. But for now, it is slower. There's no doubt. The dynamic range is not there. I've gone down. I'm used to like a D810's dynamic range, and then the Fuji was great, just not as good. The X-T3, which I'm shooting this on an X-T3, so that has awesome dynamic range, but that has a BSI backside and illuminated sensor. And then I went to the old CCD tech, so I'm like, doesn't really hold highlights well, doesn't have the greatest dynamic range, but man, it just looks so good. It's like when you get it right in the camera, and when like the conditions are perfect and you don't screw it up, there's something so rewarding about shooting with this camera that I absolutely love. So for my reasons, what was important to me, I think I made a good call. The M10 though, dude, that camera is awesome. So you're looking at the SL2S to use your M glass, lower megapixels, yeah, and the better low light. I mean, if you need the lower light performance and you want a color camera, I mean, that camera is a beast. So honestly, like, I found that the challenge with me was I wasn't taking my D810 out. I just wasn't. It was big, right? So that's why I went Fuji, because it was so much smaller. And I actually went Fuji because of the X100F. I just, I rented that to see what the buzz and hype was about with that camera, and I instantly felt it. I just wanted something with interchangeable lenses because I wanted to shoot with a 50 equivalent and a 35 equivalent. And just in case I needed, I kind of couldn't fully commit to just one camera, one lens setup with 35 because I like shooting 50 more than I like shooting 35. So for me, it was the resolution and the bulkiness of that camera. So you going with an SL2S, I'm sure the resolution will help you out because it's going to be less intense on your machine. It's going to take a less hard drive space, less processing power, and it's just going to be lighter. You know what I mean? It's just going to be lighter to just edit. I just think about it from a workflow perspective for me. And the ergos of that camera. That camera's awesome. Oh yeah, I love that camera, dude. That X100F. I love that camera. That camera is honestly, in terms of special Fuji cameras, that I know people love the GFX. I've shot with the GFX, but in terms of special, I don't know. I mean, I haven't shot with the X100V. Obviously, hear great things about it, but that camera, the X100F, was just it was just a special camera. I don't know. I always love that camera. I love the leaf shutter, and to some extent, I love the Leica Q too, like the Leica Q itself. I just wish it had an optical viewfinder. I think that like a fixed lens camera, like with an M body with the optical viewfinder, I mean, that would be sick with the leaf shutter. I mean, that would be amazing. That'd be super specialty. So I know they went 28 millimeter with the Q, but yeah, I love that camera. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting with the X100F. I just put it in a coat pocket. Like I had a jacket, like I rented it when it was a little bit chillier here, and we were just wearing jackets anyway, so I just tucked it in my jacket. I had a little lens cap for it, like no lens hood. I have lens hoods for all these other Fuji lenses. It's on this right now, but I have the ventilated ones. I didn't even put that on. I just had the cap, just clip on, clip off, and you just put it in your pocket and that's what I loved about it. I loved having a camera that I would just take with me because I wasn't taking my camera with me, and it really bothered me, because I had, X thousands of dollars of photography equipment just lying on a table looking like an ornament, I didn't want a paperweight that was that much money. And yeah, so I wanted to downsize my kit. I'm glad I went Fuji, only to go back to Leica. But you know how it goes. You can't beat the feeling of when you pick up an M camera for the first time and you're like, okay, yeah, I understand, like immediately. So anyway, let's get back to these. But anyway, so yeah, that's good. Thanks for the comments. I love your photos, by the way. They're great. So keep posting on that group. I actually really like that Leica group, because unlike the Fuji group, my beef with the Fuji groups is like everybody, the minute they get a camera, they just post photos of their gear instead of just posting photos about, they've taken with their gear. And I found that the Leica people, they're not about like, yeah, there's people that just post the newest stuff. So like, hey, I just got the SL2, or I got the M10M, or I got the M10R, and here are the photos. I generally find that people with Leicas aren't as like, oh man, gear porn. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that, because when I'm looking at making or evaluating a decision to buy a camera or a lens, I just want to see people shoot images, see what it can do, inserting lighting conditions. And I want to find out, get connected with photographers, even photographers locally in my area, so I could care less about what the camera looks like. I know what it looks like. I want to see what it can do. So I generally find that people in the Leica groups, they do really well. They'll post their work, good, bad, doesn't matter. And they shoot everything, right? So like you'll see people like me posting with a camera that's 10 years old, and then or 8 years old, and then you'll see people posting with the newest, latest, and greatest. And especially in that Leica Monochrom group, I find that group to be awesome, and everybody's pretty good. They give solid feedback. There's some awesome photographers in that group too, and then there's people that are just hobbyists, which is awesome because they get to learn. And there's people like me that get to make videos, post these videos up there, for people to learn. And yeah, and just get connected. Honestly, that's what it's all about. I think there's serious love behind all of this, and especially in the Leica people are great. They take care of their stuff. I mean, you would never, I mean, this camera's been used, but it was difficult for the person that I bought this from to sell it to me and make money. You know what I mean? Because they love this camera that much, which I find fascinating. So yeah, I think that's healthy. Anyway, so back to this. So yeah, so see, the red filter really back focuses. Again, it could be me, but this rangefinder is pretty accurate. I found it to be accurate. I don't see the rangefinder being off at all. So I'm gonna start blaming the red filter, especially stop like wide open. So wide open at f2 on this lens, it gives me grief whenever I shoot with it. So back to this. So we were editing this image. So we got the leaves kind of where we want them, but now I have to just go into my curves and just really bring down some of these values. And what I might do is, so I'm going to put in an S curve here and accentuate. So I'm just going to gradually bring up these white points here and some of these midtones. And I darkened some of the darker areas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush in. I'm going to draw a mask, but I'm going to physically draw it. I'm going to decrease the radius to about 450, and I'm going to just kind of paint in. I'm going to just paint in almost like a vignette, and I'm just going to darken some of this foreground. And I'm not using a gradient. I could use the gradient tool here. I don't want it to be that even. I just want to get this just darker, and I want to add some more contrast back in some of these areas that are now a lot lighter as a result of us, seeing these leaves. So by drawing the mask, it's added an adjustment layer. So I'm just working on the adjustment layer, and I'm just going to bring down the exposure, and I'm going to bring down the black point, and that kind of rounds it out a little bit easier, and it makes it a little bit nicer. I think it just helps this image out a lot. So I just want to darken up this foreground. So let's look at this before and after on this image. So see, we had a really dark, really flat image, right? And then bang, we just have something that has just more definition throughout. And I think it just kind of lends the eye to kind of go straight versus just not knowing where to go. And I'm checking back in these comments from time to time. So this is one of the couples that was having a shoot. I don't love this photo. I mean, you can see the lens from their photographer. I like this one much better. And I'm going to crop in because, as I said at the beginning, I think this tree is a little distracting, but I want to keep it. Or not the tree, the post from this, it's from the shack. I think it's a little distracting, but I want to use it to frame. So I'm just going to crop in like this, and I think that looks a lot nicer. I don't want to bring too much attention to it, but I want to frame. I want to frame these guys. So I dig this. Let's straighten up my horizon here. I talked about this that was pretty straight actually. I like to talk about this, but in every video, but when I use the the straighten tool, I'll go pretty wide. It gives me a lot of control versus just doing a really small area. So I literally paint it almost across the entire screen to make sure that's level. So I just made that a little bit straighter. Let's increase the exposure a tad here, maybe half a stop, and I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna kill some of these highlights on this image. Actually, yeah, pretty much all of them. I'm going to increase the shadows a little bit since they're in the shadow. Most of such a cute shot. They had their dog. Their dog was so cute, dude. Super cute. San Diego is really dog friendly. It's probably the most dog friendly place I've ever been to in my entire life. So you'll see pups everywhere, especially now. Everybody's just out the house. The minute the sun's setting, you'll just see these beaches flooded with people. So anyway, I want to add some more clarity and structure, and I'm gonna keep it on the lower end. I don't think it needs to be crazy. I was already stopped down here. It says 5.5. This is about right. I was at about 5.6, f4 to f5.6. I was shooting in that range for most of these shots here. It gave me just some more latitude and just maybe a little bit quicker in terms of focusing and making sure that I didn't screw it up. And that's how I shot. And I'm just gonna increase. I'm gonna bring some more. I'm gonna just paint an S curve in here. And I might have to take this up a little bit though. Yeah, there we go. So I like this. This looks a lot nicer. Obviously, you don't see the shot that it was before the crop, but this is pre-crop. See, it was way too wide. again, with this 18 megapixel sensor, it's really difficult to crop in, you know, too much. I don't want to go too hardcore because you start losing resolution very quickly, even though it is the monochrome sensor. So I like this. I think this is great. This is one of my favorite shots actually from the day, not outside of the shots of my wife. I think this is you know, some of the stronger shots. Starting to get some more flare, although there's really nothing in these shots. These just are like snapshots, to be honest with you. I was trying to get more of the shack. I wanted to see what I could do with the shack, but there's really nothing. There's just people just stupidly and lazily around here. There was a bunch of bags and people having photo shoots, so it really wasn't the right time and the right environment to shoot the shack. And it's so back, you know, just so front lit, I guess, that, you know, everything's a silhouette. So I mean, we could pull things out of the shadows here, but it just starts getting really muddy. And this is where the M10 you know, would probably be a lot better at this, but the M9C, the file just falls apart even on the shadows. So yes, there's more dynamic range in the monochrome sensor, not as much latitude in the M9. So I kind of really can't go that fine. You know, I can't bump it that much with these files, and because of that, I don't really like the shot that much. I like the way the sun's flaring. That I do like. I wish I could have done something more with this, but unfortunately not in this shot. So I'm not gonna do anything with this or this shot. This was the interesting shot to me because I noticed this. I was talking about this. This shot's interesting. Here's why it's interesting to me, because everybody's parked out here. So first of all, there's people. Let me just increase the exposure so we can see what's going on here. So you have a line of cars. This is the street. You have a line of cars just parked to the like the edge of the road here. You have this gentleman in his car, and then you have these two girls. You know, there's three people actually. They just drove their golf carts from their houses to the beach to just watch the sunset, which is amazing. And you have this guy just looking at the sun. Everybody just looking at the sunset. So it's a little bit difficult to see because I do have the red filter on, and you could see that from the do not enter because those signs are red. They actually don't have as much contrast, like, because if you shoot with a red filter, it blocks out that kind of light. So you'll see a lot of times your reds are light, really light. So it almost blends in. But I like the fact that there's a one-way pointing in the same direction as everybody looking at the sunset, and you looking this way is looking the wrong way, which I think is kind of fascinating. So it's actually interesting. I wasn't trying to do that at all, but as I look at this shot, I actually just that's what I'm seeing right now, at least reviewing the situation. Would have been really awesome and a lot better to put more context without me having to tell you that, and would have made the shot stronger was if I had a reflection of the sunset in the car. Now, if I would have been at an angle where I could shoot the sunset of you know, the actual sunset happening behind me, you know, so you could see the wrong way, the one way, and then people looking the opposite way at what was the sunset, and you could see that by the reflection of the car, then I think that would have been a really strong image. I didn't do that because I didn't see the scene. I saw it later. It's just, you know, it's just something to look out for and watch out for. If I see the shot again, which I'm sure I will, because people do this every single day when there's a really pretty clear sunset, I'm going to make sure that I set up appropriately so I can catch the sun kind of coming down here. I don't think we're going to edit this one, though, because there's really nothing to edit. I don't want to edit this guy's license plate out here, and I'm not close enough to these girls to really see an expression. She's looking at the ground and drinking, so I don't think this is going to be one we're going to edit. This was a hip shot. Hip shots within 50 millimeter are a lot harder than you think. Again, out of focus, not even close. This shot, I just saw this empty chair, which I thought was weird, and I wanted to shoot it. There's nothing really interesting going on in the shot. It's since I'm shooting, I wasn't too wide open, but so it's slightly blurry here, and I love the sun flare coming through. Not the greatest. This was a hip shot, which one of the lucky ones that actually came out. I'm going to, we could probably edit this, or I really want to get to these ones of my wife because these ones I think look great, and she's gonna love these. She's gonna really like these. Let's see. Yeah, let's edit this one. This one Is this one sharper? They're both kind of back focus. You can see where the focus is. It's right here. So can we see definition in the purse? No, of course not. All right, so we're gonna have to be careful with the exposure here. So I'm going to actually take down the black point. I'm gonna increase the shadow slightly, but not enough so you could read the text and make out the text, because you can't see the rest of the purse. It's out of focus. I don't want to bring attention to the fact that it's out of focus, but I do like the separation. I'm going to straighten out the horizon, and let's see, let's add a slight S-curve here. Just very, very fine S-curve, nothing too crazy here. Nothing too crazy. And we could probably bring down the exposure, actually. Looking for natural looking skin. That's what we're looking for. I don't want to get too many hot spots. There's a reason why we shoot with a monochrome. Okay. What do we think of this one? I think this one's okay. Maybe some more on the pants. Yeah. I don't want the purse to look black, because the purse isn't black. So sure, maybe some more shadow. Yeah, maybe we'll decrease the white point. I think that's okay. I don't like this person. She was kind of walking through the shot sporadically, so I am going to make sure that we have a nice crop. And I'm going to crop in this edge a little too, so it's not too far in the center, although she's pretty centered out. It's really windy. My wife's not going to really like her hair in the shot, but I think it looks great. Let's copy these settings, see how these settings do for us on this next image as a starting point. Yeah, see, the light's a lot softer. You can see the light change very quickly. It's very subtle, but it's softer light. There's a little bit more of a bright glint on her eye. I'm gonna let her. That almost makes the shot look a little sharper, at least zoomed out. So I'm gonna let her decide on which one she likes. This I liked, so I liked how silky everything kind of looked and transitioned together. I don't like this one, but I'm going to keep it for the vlog. Excuse me. I do like this one. Straightening out the horizon. We can kill... I want to see what we can do with painting in the sun flare, like a massive sun flare. So like if we do something like this, like just massive. And if we invert this mask, yeah, that just makes it look just way more dramatic. I was shooting this fairly wide open, so I wasn't going for a sun star. And I dig this a lot. Let's see. Oops. Nope. I'm on the adjustment layer. There we go. Yeah, this is awesome. I love this. I love these high contrast shots. These silhouette shots are awesome. It's really nice, depending on how where the sun is in the sky. If you look at the sand, it's really silky. And I wasn't paying attention because I had a trail of my wife's feet kind of going to the beach, going towards her, like a leading line, just kind of the path that she walked, which I thought was great and looked amazing. So I wasn't paying attention. I saw it in my OVF, but I didn't, see it outside of my frame lines. So note to self, pay attention to your frame lines. But anyway, I think this looks okay. I think it just adds an extra flavor. Again, these shots are nice. You just can't really see the purse, and that was kind of the idea. I love my wife's expression on some of these. Let's see, maybe this one. Oops, nope. I just rated it. Okay, so let's obviously crop this guy out running towards the beach. We'll crop him out. The shot's very dark, so I'm going to add some. I'm going to correct the exposure. I'm going to correct the black point, update the white point, and I want to straighten out the horizon, which I think it looks great. Touch of clarity and structure. Yeah, see, it's back focus, man. I hate that. That's so aggravating to me, man. You have no idea. Because all in all, the shot looks nice. It looks nice. I do like that a lot. Love the adjustments. Yeah. Oh, you like that? Yeah. So Frank's in the comments. He liked the sun flare. So what I did, Frank, was I went to a radial gradient. So if you hit the T key, you'll see that you can draw a radial gradient. You can't see the menu because the way I'm broadcasting this through OBS, it's not seeing any pop-up windows or any overlaid windows. So you'll have to go to the tools. See, there's the keystone tool in the middle. It's right, which is those two lines. It's the one right to the next to it. If you just click the drop down button next to cursor tools, you'll see that there's the mask, the linear gradient, or the radial gradient. I just used it to exaggerate kind of the flare, to exaggerate the actual the sun on the horizon. Typically I won't do that if I stop down, because I like the sun star. So you know how you could create a really cool sun star if you really stop down. The more you stop down, the more spokes and the more offset the spokes are. So if you shoot at like an f11 or 13, you get a really defined sun star and it's beautiful. I didn't. So because I didn't do that, you know, I wasn't too worried about this. It's kind of a softer sun star. So it for me, it's the perfect use of that gradient, because then it paints everything else around it with that light a little bit. So it's just an exposure correction. So that's why I did that. And on all of these, you know, you'll see that I generally don't go, I mean, with the exception of the white and the black point, I don't really do too much. There's a few presets that I have, and I'm not using them on purpose. So I have a few presets that I use, and I purchased a bunch. So for my Fuji cameras, I purchased these packs of film simulations that go through everything from Kodak to Fujifilm to all these other, to Ilford. There's a lot of different film simulations here, and you can see how heavy the grain is on these. And I created one off of their Tri-X 400, which looks like this. I created one that's clean, so I killed all the noise, and it's super high contrast, and I really like this. I'm personally not using it on any of these editing videos, because I don't want to just be like, okay, well, all you have to do is buy this preset and bang, here's how your shot can look. I want to go just shot by shot and really edit these images that way. I mean, sure, I can do it. So like the way I would achieve a similar look is I would crush the black point here, you know, really in the levels, and, you know, we can kind of get something very similar. I'm not doing that on purpose. Again, my wife's going to use these images. She's going to tag this purse company too, because she wants to. So I have specific goals in mind for these shots, and I don't want it to just be like a one click, okay, here's how you learn by just copying what I do and clicking a button and a preset. So that's why I'm not going through that on purpose. I may on the export just hit it with my preset. So when I add it to a, depending on the shot, like yesterday's shot that I posted to the group, the one of San Diego, the reflection shot, that wasn't with the preset. That was just the actual edit I did on the video. So I just like to keep it that way. If the shot needs a little love or a preset, or I want it to post a certain way, then yeah, I'll hit it with the preset, but not in these videos. I think for the purposes of these videos, it's like I'm going to share the shot I edit. So I like the edits anyway. The only difference between the preset I created and some of these edits is just more crunch, more of that high contrast kind of look. And on these shots, that's not going to help the shots and the goal of these shots. So I'm purposely not using that. I wish I could use this dog photo. He's so cute. He's a good dog. But anyway, I can't use the dog. So we have some more shots of my wife and the purse. Let's see. I don't really like this shot. I love this shot. This shot's probably my favorite shot from the series. Let's copy these adjustments. Or let's go to these adjustments. Copy these adjustments. And then paste these here. And we'll straighten out the, I mean, this already looks pretty good, to be honest with you, with just those simple edits. I don't think it needs too much. What I do want to do on the shot though, which I have not done on the other shots. So you could see how soft the light just now. So this is right after sunset. So now you see how nice the light is wrapping around my wife. It just looks really, really nice. There is a little spot in the center of my sensor, which I will probably not be able to see, but it's a little blotch. I'm trying to make it so you can see it. You won't be able to see it. I might have to clone stamp it. So this is another tool that I like to use. I used yesterday. So in the healing section, so we have the spot removal tool, we have the draw healing mask, and then we have a draw cloning mask. Draw cloning mask is like the clone stamp tool in Photoshop. So what you basically do is you sample one area of your image, and then you paint that area with an area over the area that is that has some sort of defect. So if you're trying to like Photoshop a person out of like the sand or something, you could sample right next to that person where the light is the same, the overall texture of the foreground is, or the surrounding area is the same, and you could just paint that literally over top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right next to this spot here. And it's a little difficult because I have these lights beaming in my eyes, but I'm gonna go right next to this, and what you have to do is, first of all, I'm gonna increase the radius. So I right click to increase the size of my brush. And then I'm going to sample. I'm going to hold the Option key down, and on Mac that's the Alt key. So you hold it to sample, you click, and then that you'll see the little circle means that that's the area we're going to sample. And now we're going to go to the area we want to clean, and we're just going to paint the brush in. So we're going to just paint, and it's basically going to sample the area around the yellow circle, and it's just going to add and paint similar color and contrast and texture to that area next to my wife's head where there was that little sensor spot there. So that's how you get rid of something like that. And you could do it with her hair. So for example, I can go in and I could just get rid of these wispies here, but I'm not going to, since I like the look of the wind. So that's one local adjustment I'm going to make on this. And another local adjustment is I'm going to go to the mask tool, and I'm going to use the brush. Now what I want to do is I want to paint some more exposure on the front of my wife here. So I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So we're not painting on the clone stamp layer, and I'm going to just, I'm going to dodge this a little bit. So we're going to add on this front part, you'll see where the light areas are. I'm going to be painting more light, basically where the light areas are on my wife here, which is the front of her. And I'm gonna change the size of my brush, and you'll see I'm gonna overall make her pop out of this background. Just get the front of her hair there. I'm gonna make her pop out a little bit more from the background. So you'll see I'm just gonna slightly increase. It's a very subtle change. It'll make a huge difference. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this brush a whole lot bigger and add another adjustment layer. And I'm gonna overall just paint over my wife. And I could do this selection a whole different set of ways, but I'm just doing it pretty crudely. And I'm just going to add a little bit more exposure to just, not too much, just, just a little bit more. And it's very faint. See, I have the opacity and the flow rate pretty low on that brush, so it's not very heavy handed. And I just want to make sure it looks natural. You know what I mean? I want to create a little bit more separation, a little bit more of a spotlight look on her. To really get this. Thanks for. I'm glad you're liking these edits. Yeah, so that's basically kind of how I'm handling this this edit. So you'll see this will be probably one of the most shocking before and afters, actually, because we actually went pretty hardcore on this edit. And so you can see so we have a few layers here. We have the background layer, which were the global adjustments, everything from the exposure to the curves. And I'm actually probably going to mess with the levels on this one and just make it a little tiny bit darker. Just add that little extra layer of love and elegance. I love it. I really love this. We have the curve. So we have the Luma curve. I'm drawing a Luma curve, not an RGB curve. That's important. I'm just hitting the light values. So just the Luma curve. And then we clone stamped. So we clone stamped the sensor spot that we couldn't get rid of otherwise. And then we painted, we did a little bit of dodging. I didn't do any burning. I just did some dodging with some brush strokes on my wife, on her arm, a little bit on her face and her hair. and then I did her entire body very, very slightly, and I blended that in as well. So just those are just all exposure edits, and the before and after of this is going to look pretty crazy. So there's the before, bang, there's the after, and now you can really see this is where I don't want to crop this for a few reasons, because you really see the vignette of this lens, which I think works so well. I told my wife that this lens, when you shoot wide open, has a glow. It's because it has a vignette, to be honest with you. So like if you have center weighted subject, you can clearly see where the vignette is. And all I'm doing in the edit is understanding, the shot itself and the way it came out of camera. And I'm just doubling down on that, and I'm helping it, so I'm making it look more natural. I'm bringing that vignette out more. So the lens already is vignetting, so you could clearly see it in the corners. There's a huge vignette here, and I'm not getting rid of it. I love it. I love the vignette, and I love the sun flare. So I'm keeping the vignette. I'm just working with it more. So I'm making sure the center of the frame where my wife is just a little bit brighter, and it just glows and pops out a little bit more off the screen. I think it looks great, especially from the before and after. So, and again, I don't want the purse to look black. Even though there's less light on it, we're showing that in the edit, but we're not making the purse look black. So I think these edits are really nice. And on this, I'm gonna copy. Let's copy some of these edits and start off here. Oops, clear. Yeah, don't apply those. Okay. We're gonna take all of those local adjustments off. So we're just gonna keep the edits to the exposure, and we're gonna bring down the black point a little bit. Let's make this leather look nice. So because my wife's not in this and her skin isn't in this, I'm actually gonna increase the clarity in the structure. I said on the video yesterday that I don't really like going on pushing these sliders past the 20. So like on landscapes, I don't go too crazy, because then it just looks unnatural. Even though Capture One does such a great job with this, I don't think it's worth pushing. There is such a thing as over editing. I don't like to do it, and I try to stay away from it. So I just want to crop this a little bit nicer, crop this a little bit better, and I think we're okay here. Maybe we'll play with some of these levels, and I think we're okay. I don't want to over edit. I think it looks good. Again, before and after. Flat, pop, flat and pop. That's why you shoot to edit. And this is a good example of monochrome. If you're shooting wood or leather, like a single color leather, you could really see these tones. I mean, look how many levels of gray, are in this shot. I love it. I think it looks great. So she'll be really happy. These last shots, I try to catch the surfer kind of walking up the steps. Didn't do the best job focusing, not the best job on his face. And these last few shots, I really like this shot. You have these guys just checking out the surf cam. So we'll make this our last edit here, and we'll close out this live stream. Let's kill we have a bunch of cars now. It's getting a little dark, so I'm gonna kill the cars. I'm gonna keep these people in here. I think it's cool to show a different type of experience. You kind of have what I would assume are locals and like local surf photographers at the beach, and then you have people that are just walking their family and or visiting, and kind of tourists, and just taking it all in. So you kind of have two people with cameras, shooting the same thing with two different types of kit, two different scenarios, two different lives. You have the family life, and you have the surf life here. So 3 people and 3 people, both with cameras. Yeah, it's just kind of, it made for a cool frame. I just want to crop this a little bit nicer. Let's see. Okay, clear all. Yep, clear. Good. I'm gonna kill these. I'm just being lazy now. I don't think the exposure needed to go that high. Let's straighten this too, just to make sure we cover our bases. The exposure was too much from the previous setting, I believe, and I don't want to accentuate any one group of people. I want them both to kind of get equal love here, so I can increase the clarity. I will increase the shadow in this a little bit, because I want to show more of the detail in the bushes here. I think that helps, and this dude's pretty ripped, so I kind of want to show off the surf bod a little bit. This guy's got the wetsuit on, but you could clearly see the dude's built. And you kind of need to be here at this beach. This beach is where some of the local pros like to go. So waves it's a solid reef break. So this guy obviously feels pretty confident, knows what he's doing in order to be out here. So I think that just adds to the photo, adds a little bit more to the story. You know, you kind of want to see the results of what you sow, especially if you got some surf photographer shooting you. Okay. I like this loom of curve is okay. I think this is okay. This looks good to me. And the last shot is a very similar photo. So I snapped them both back to back. So I'm happy with these edits. I'm going to have a video with the actual GoPro. So I had it on top of the camera, and I kind of shot it more like a vlog style. And I'm going to shoot these. The plan is to have a live stream of these edits. So me actually seeing the shots for the first time, culling through the shots, editing the shots, and then, you know, the live stream becomes the edit that I can share and help people either see the kind of edits that other people are doing, maybe see Capture One for the first time, or the new version of Capture One, which this is Capture One 21. Yeah, 21. And just get some other techniques. I use a lot of the tools depending on the scenario. So I don't want to go into Photoshop too. I could finish this off. Some of these shots, obviously, you could finish off in Photoshop and hit it with plugins like Silver Effects Pro and other plugins. But I think you can do such a good job with Capture One Pro 21 that even if you have a shot that's pretty, you know, pretty bad, in terms of like exposure, you can make all the necessary adjustments. And if you have sensor spots, dust everywhere, you can really, you know, go in, clean it up, and then add some extra effects and some extra tools, such as some of these gradient edits, from local to global adjustments, and really make the most out of every single frame, even if you didn't get it completely right in camera. As you clearly saw, I did not tonight. So you'll have good days and bad days when you shoot, but that's why you keep going and to get better, right? So anyway, thank you for tuning in. This was awesome. Frank, thanks for checking this out. I appreciate you participating. I'm going to post this video again in the Facebook group for Leica Monochrom users. I'm going to export one of these shots. I'm not sure which shot I'm going to actually use. I'm thinking I might use, you know which one I might use? I might use the one with the couple. I might use this one. I really like this one. Or one of my wife that I really like. I think this couple one's awesome. It kind of tells a cool story. And they have the dog. You can't really see the dog, but I just like this. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. This was great. This was a lot of fun. I plan on doing this every single time I go shoot, honestly. So everybody have a happy new year. Stay safe. Hopefully we'll get through this mess ASAP, and we'll be better for it. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.